How often have you heard about mass shootings? Does it still surprise you? Mass shootings have been on a rise for the last decade or so. This is why we need to establish stricter laws, stricter gun laws. I am not the only one who thinks about this. There are major sources such as CNN, ABC News, NBC News, and New York Times who will agree with me as well. I believe with strict gun restrictions, there would not be such an abundance of mass shootings. So with gun restrictions, the goal is to lower the amount of shootings that are happening. With the with lessening guns on the streets, there will be a decrease in deaths. Um, with government action, we can make this possible. As stated by CNN, 58% of Americans say that government should take action that would be effective in preventing future mass shootings. According to a CNN poll that has been conducted by SSRS, just over half the public, which was 54%, say that they believe having stricter gun control would reduce the number of gun related deaths in the country. Now, this is more than half the country that believes that government should take further steps in reducing making it stricter to receive guns by placing and establishing different sets of laws. So, based on these polls, do you believe that Americans would feel safe? Well, the simple answer is yes. Americans will feel safe with stricter gun laws. Now, this is a great majority of school shootings happen in public places. Um, Public schools and private schools are mostly number one targets per se. The best thing to do is to train teachers to use a firearm and be able to carry a firearm in the classroom. Now, NBC states that the teachers should be encouraged with proper training to carry a weapon in order to deter or foil potential mass shootings. Now, for teachers, being able to carry firearms, well, being able to be trained on proper use of a firearm would be beneficial in the classroom and schools because now it would reduce the number of shootings that occur in schools. Now, not only that, but it will also reduce the amount of deaths of younger school children and teachers as well. Um, However, currently the only state that offers some type of law that would pass teachers getting guns is Florida. Florida is the only state that will allow school principals to designate certain staff members or volunteers to carry a firearm. Now, in conclusion, firearm training needs to be stressed upon, highly stressed upon. It needs to require a serious background check because you need to know exactly who you're giving a gun to. Giving a gun to someone is should not be taken lightly, and I feel like as of right now, as a country, it's kind of just handed out. There's private sales between friends and family that no one really knows about because it's private and it gets through multiple hands and there's no tracing record of it, which could be dangerous, which is definitely dangerous because it could lead to someone with a mental disorder who could have thoughts of harming themselves or harming others, and it could lead to a mass shooting. So guns should not be easily available. Background checks would be a major help, as stated in NBC News. We need to correct failures in the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. Background checks would be beneficial because it allows the government the ability to know exactly who owns a firearm, and it gives them the right to kind of pick and choose per se of who's allowed to carry this firearm. If they have a certain disorder, then clearly they should not be in possession of a firearm. There should be requirements that should be established, and if someone falls short of meeting possibly one or two requirements, I believe that they should not be able to carry a firearm. That meaning that they are a potential threat. Not saying that they are a threat, but to be safe, to keep citizens safe, to keep school children safe, teachers, everyone in the country safe, it's best to just label them as um, a safety risk. So unfortunately, there was a bill that was proposed. It was called the No Fly, No Buy law. So it was unfortunately did not pass. This law would restrict firearm sales to people of Terror Watch, um, list while giving them the ability to appeal. Um, so people who were in Terror Watch were still able to buy. I'm sorry. People that was on Terror Watch were still able to that were not able to fly for whatever reason were still able to purchase firearms. Now, that is not the best way to approach a situation. Um, there has to be a major reason as to why you can't fly, why you're restricted to fly to certain areas or to fly in general. So, why exactly are we allowing people like this purchase firearms? It's not safe, and this is a clear indicator that we need to focus on heavily on gaining heavy restrictions on gun control. People who may be a possible threat to themselves or others should not be easily able to buy a gun. So qualifying to purchase a gun should be limited. It should be a difficult and limited process. Now, I believe that there should be every quarter of a year, every 3 months or so, there should be X amount of firearm sales or firearm permits that are allowed. And there should be a heavy background check that you must pass in order to go further in the steps. With gun restrictions, there will be a lower mass shootings, and result there will be less death. So that will happen with guns since they are so readily available now. The only best way to find out is to restrict guns a little more more better and figure out what works.